For those who haven't been there, explain the holy chaos of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. There's a lot of holy chaos there. There's this thing at the Holy Sepulchre called the status quo, in which under the I think it was the British time there, they basically said, we're going to, whoever has control of the certain parts of the Holy Sepulchre is going to be the one who has it for now. And then if you do any maintenance in a certain part of the church, then you also get control of the place where you did maintenance. And so the place is this beautiful old building that's also falling down because nobody will really do any maintenance on it, because as soon as you do any maintenance on it, you get to have custody of that part of the building. So then they have wars about who's going to do the maintenance. So there's stacks of bricks and stone in the corners of the place. There's ladders and scaffolding that's not been put up, that's kind of sitting around in corners, to the point where there's even a ladder that was put up in the early part of the 20th century to repair something out of a window over the front entrance. And nobody will take away the ladder, because whoever touches that ladder, it's this war over who gets to touch the ladder first. And so there's that whole part of the chaos of the Holy Sepulchre, which is just the control of it. But then you also have the different rites that are and the different churches that are using it all at the same time. So whether it's the Coptics or the Greeks or the Armenians or the Romans and the different groups that have chapels inside there, who might have even liturgies that happen at the same time. And so there's a chaos that happens even within the building itself. So I know Father Lerner and Father Gorick and I, we got locked in overnight when we were there. And were you locked in overnight? Yeah. And all night long you had different liturgies that were taking place, and people would come out with thuribles and try and see who could incense the place more than the other group, and so there'd be these processions that take place throughout the evening of like kind of asserting who has a presence within the building or not. And it is chaotic, and it's almost, if you're not ready for the chaos of it, almost disheartening in a certain sense, because there is this very real power struggle that takes place within there. I remember a few years ago when I was celebrating Mass in the Roman chapel, which is slightly off to the side of where the Holy Sepulchre is, reflecting on, this is the place where Christ has died to reconcile us, not because it's this beautiful place that is in proper order, but where is it more fitting for our Lord to want to bring reconciliation in the place where there might not be any places more conflicted or having more power struggles than the city of Jerusalem itself, and then even within the Church of the Holy Sepulchre or the Temple Mount, where there's more struggle for power in the world, at least for a religious sense. And so it's in that place where the cross, the death, the resurrection all happened. And so it makes sense that it is a conflicted place, because where else would Christ come to bring reconciliation except the place where there's conflict?
And this holy chaos when you walk, it depends on the time of the day, just with the amount of pilgrims in there. So there's Calvary, and the Bible tells us the tomb is close at hand. It's actually about 95 feet away, to be exact. And just so our listeners have a picture, the Holy Sepulchre is the name of the church, and it's built over all of these sites. So there's just a lot going on. And I don't know if you, my brother priest, have had the opportunity, the privilege, but on the trip that I was on, we had the night of the Holy Sepulchre was our tour guide, and we had the privilege of celebrating Mass both on Calvary in the tomb. And it's a half hour. And you want to see charity go out the window, don't make it 31 minutes. You have a half hour to celebrate Mass, and we were in the tomb. About 10 people can fit in the tomb, and there's a little vestibule outside the tomb, maybe another 10 or 15. And then our other group would be on Calvary. So we'd have two priests, both celebrated Mass. But we were there, we'd get there at 5 in the morning. So we had a wake-up call at 3:30, 5 days in a row. It was really beautiful. And we would have Mass in the tomb or on Calvary. And at that time, it's very quiet. But if you get there 2 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, it's just pandemonium. And some people wait in line for 2 or 3 hours to get into the tomb for a half a minute, 45 seconds. And yeah, you're dragged in, you're dragged out. Don't leave your suit, bring your suitcase in, and it's chaos.
It is.
Maybe a holy chaos, but sometimes a not so holy chaos. And just a lot of activity, but still, I think whatever time of the day we go there, it's meaningful, but there is a beautiful quiet that I'm sure that you experience by staying in during the night, which is an option, or to get there early in the morning. It reminds you of, with this letter, Gospel of John, when Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb early in the morning before sunrise, and there's just a serenity and a peacefulness of being there at that time.
Yeah. I find it's interesting, obviously it's not ideal in some ways, because we would like everybody to just get along and have a beautiful place with a beautiful moment and, all that, but kind of like you were talking about, there's something strangely fitting, to be able to consider at least, that chaos or, all that's happening and the fact that there is this imperfection, in some ways just because I think maybe you could have the danger as a Catholic, as a Christian, as anybody, to kind of walk through Holy Week and go through all these moments and there's all this darkness and all this stuff that's happening, and then you get to the end of the story and then Jesus rises and it's all fixed and it's all better, done, let's walk away, but we know that's not the case. That's not the real world. There's still this everything that goes on in the real world, and you have to kind of wrestle with that, and in a place like the Holy Church of the Holy Sepulchre, maybe we are wrestling with that, to say, yeah, this miraculous thing happened, this world-changing thing happened, and yet we're still a bit of a mess, and that's life until he comes again.
Right.
Which talks about how each of us needs to still be redeemed and have that the perfection of our salvation worked out within us. That yes, Christ has done a complete, perfect act of reconciliation that reconciles the whole world, but that reconciliation needs to enter more deeply into me as well. And then, as you said, seeing it not the way that it should be, can either irritate you or also make you reflect on, where is this not working its effect within me either?
I think for pilgrims who go on the trip, if most of them are asked, and we did a round table from all 47 on our trip, what was your favorite place? And for most of our pilgrims, it was the experience of being either on Calvary or in the tomb or in the Holy Sepulchre. There was just some, or kissing the washing stone where Christ's body was washed. And so that just brings to life the death and resurrection, what Christ really went through for us. And for most pilgrims, I think, for many pilgrims, the Holy Sepulchre is one of the most meaningful places to go to.